Roadmap to Victory is sponsored by the R&R family of companies.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. The weather in Minnesota, unpredictable this time of year. The Golden Gophers' week-to-week performance on the football field, also unpredictable, which seems like every year under Coach P.J. Fleck. Coach Bradley, Coach Paterno, they seem to have an easier time rowing the boat when they're at home. This is the final road obstacle for the Nittany Lions. So show us some of the potholes to avoid in the City of Lakes.
Well, you know, the Mississippi River starts in Minnesota and, you know, it runs right through Minneapolis. So maybe that's why it's easier to row the boat. They go with the current. But speaking of going with the current, after a blowout win, Tom and I have always talked about it, and this really goes back. After blowouts, you like to coach your team harder than you do after a loss because they can deal with it. So if you look at Penn State, one of the things as you look the next two games, potentially in the playoff, is going to be getting the traditional running game going with their running backs, Allen and Singleton. Common opponents. Now turn to Minnesota. As Todd mentioned, they've done some good things. They're 6-4. They've had some good wins. 3 common opponents with Penn State. They're 3-0 against them. Penn State's 3-0. Margin of victory fairly similar in that regard. Not a great offensive football team, Tom, but what they are good at is they are good in situations on third downs, and they are good at creating points off turnovers, and we'll talk about that when we get to defense. Let's talk about a little bit more about Minnesota and what they do in the run game, Tom. No surprise, zone blocking scheme. And when you talk about the zone blocking scheme, it's a big offensive line, 6'6", 320 up front. But they want to create lateral displacement, create the cutbacks. And then, Tom, you always did this. Upfield push, vertical displacement by the defense kills us.
I'm not sure of one thing here, because those weights, I'm not sure if they're accurate. They look a little bit heavier to me.
They're big, and they're
big.
lengthy.
They are big.
Taylor, the tailback, keep an eye on him as you watch this stiff arm. Remember, this guy has caught 45 passes this year. That's a big number in 10 games, and that's what we're going to transition to next. With Minnesota having the week off, they like to be very creative. So this could be interesting. Now, Tom, you used to love this. They start him out in empty. They motion him back. They fake the ball to him. They fake the play action pass, and then they throw it back to him on the screen. That's a lot to look at when you're a linebacker.
Yeah, it's a lot of pleasant memories. Thanks, Jay, for pointing that out. But the one thing that's very difficult is to duplicate this at practice, too, to get this timing just right.
And just like Andy Kotelnicki is creative in his formations, Minnesota will be as well, so keep an eye on that early in the game. Now, when you talk about the matchups on the outside, they've emerged as a good passing football team, and they like the short pass stuff. But again, you got to be patient and tackle. Don't jump on that because they'll go to the double moves in a hurry. Here they use max protection. They get the corner full, and you'll see this both from the wide shot and the isolation shot. They just get that one stutter step in the corner, Tom, and then it's trouble.
It's big-time trouble, and he's very accurate with those throws. It's one of the things you have to understand about him. He is very accurate in his passing. And
Daniel Jackson does a nice job getting this ball in a tight window with good coverage, and that's Illinois. That's a good defensive football team. Now, speaking of defense, Minnesota's numbers, top 20 in almost every category in the country. They play good offensive football teams. Keep an eye on Penn State's ability to run the ball as well as avoid turnovers, because turnovers is the key for Minnesota. Plus 12, number 7 in the country, 72 points on turnovers, top 20 in limiting 20-yard plays. In fact, the last Power 5 team to give up, Power 4 team to give up a 50-yard play. Keep an eye on Ja Joyner, the defensive end. You're going to see a lot of film on him in the corner. Wally and Robinson are both really good matchups for them against Penn State's wideouts. Now, 4-2-5 scheme. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and just like Ohio State and Penn State, 3 safeties, which allows them to rally the ball, prevent big plays, create confusion with alignments, and force turnovers, Tom. And you know that's the key to this game.
And that is going to be the key to the game, will be the turnovers. And one thing about the 3 safeties, too, Jay, is you can do a lot of different disguises.
Yeah, it makes it tough up front. And, again, go into the ball and tackle them. Now, let's talk about disguising things. Again, 4 different players with multiple interceptions, 16 interceptions, 46 pass breakups, 12 by the D line. These 2 numbers mean that 21% of the passes that are thrown, they get a hand on. That's why they're top 10 in passing efficiency, Tom, and they do get some pass rush outside.
One of the great things you did bring up is that front, the way they key that ball, are able to get their hands and knock down passes. And as you know, a lot of times those balls get up in the air, turn into interceptions.
And as you say that, we go to the next play, and we're going to see that happen right away. Tom, beautiful transition as always. But again, they can do a lot of things, show blitzes, confuse your offensive line, get one-on-one matchups, and that creates interceptions. And here, they drop a guy out, they drop a defensive end out, and if you're looking to throw the underneath stuff, again, this becomes a problem for you because now, again, knocking the ball. And one of the reasons you can get a lot of interceptions is because you do that.
Thank you very much. Coaches, of course, it always helps to have a guy like Tyler Warren on your team, no matter who you're playing. Run, block, catch, throw, all of the usual Tyler Warren skills are on display in West Lafayette. His performance increases the Heisman Trophy hype that surrounds the Nittany Lions, all everything tight end. Warren's signature play against the Boilermakers comes in the second quarter. Takes the direct snap, throws it over to Drew Aller. It's a backwards pass, which makes him an eligible and open receiver on his side of the field. Aller sends it back to Warren, and he takes off down the sideline behind a wall of blockers. Does not score on this play. In the third quarter, he again fields the snap, and this time keeps it and sprints the distance. Coach Franklin has seen more than enough to give his opinion on Warren's place in the college football world.
I think Tyler Warren should be a part of all the conversations that deal with the best football player in college football. I don't think it's a question. And that's all those types of awards, including the Heisman.
And here are his season numbers: 67 receptions for 808 yards and 5 scores, 16 carries for 157 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground, 2 completions in 4 attempts for 26 yards and a touchdown passing the ball. Not to mention, he's an outstanding blocker. I would imagine he will collect some kind of hardware during award season. Warren was an excellent basketball player in high school. Perhaps he will make an appearance for our next guest at some point in the hardwood. We catch up with Nittany Lions head men's basketball coach Mike Rhodes after the break. More Nittany Game Week after this.